Top 10 Scariest Urban Legends Around the World. You are about to see some of the scariest urban legends in the world. You will hear about cryptids, insane ghost stories, and even people who came from other dimensions. This is 10tastic, here to give you 10 urban myths and legends that will get your heart racing. The Bunnyman. In Fairfax County, Virginia, United States, there is a legend unlike any other. The people whisper of a mysterious Bunnyman who is responsible for some rather disturbing stories. According to legend, a madman once escaped from an insane asylum and managed to avoid the police by running into the woods. There, he kept leaving a trail of dead rabbits until he ended up underneath the Collier Bridge of Fairfax County. Soon, people would see dead rabbits hanged underneath the bridge, which evidently spooked a lot of people. One night, some children visited the bridge, and instead of finding dead rabbits, they found a man dressed in dirty white clothing with bunny ears on top of his head, and he was carrying a hatchet. The children were never seen again. The worrying thing about this legend is that there is some truth to it. In 1970, a young Air Force cadet, Robert Bennett, and his fiancée were visiting family in Guinea Road one night, and they parked their car in a field. That was when they saw something moving in the rear view, and all of a sudden, the passenger window was smashed by a man wearing dirty white clothes. Bennett quickly drove away, and then he and his fiancée saw a small hatchet on the car floor. In his testimony later on for the Fairfax police, Bennett swore that the man had bunny ears attached to his head. In Fairfax County, there have been more and more reports from locals over the years about a mysterious bunny man causing trouble. But this doesn't even compare to what some Nigerian boarding school students are saying. Miss Koi Koi. The boarding schools of Nigeria have an even more fascinating tale about a lady who wears high heels and comes for children in the dead of night. Her name is Miss Koi Koi. No one knows where this spirit comes from or just what her quest is, but she apparently roams the halls of boarding schools and hotels every night. And when she's around, you hear the distinct sound of... Her story goes like this. Once upon a time, there was a young teacher who dressed in elaborate clothing and liked to wear red high heels. She was apparently very rude and liked to punish her students for the smallest crimes, going as far as striking them mercilessly. One day, a child decided that they had had enough and struck her back. The blow was apparently so strong that the teacher fell down and hit her head, which ended her life. The school covered it up and buried the teacher within the school grounds, but when the night came, something strange began to happen. The spirit of the teacher could be seen roaming the halls of the school, wearing her red shoes, and any child she laid her hands on. Any child breaking the rules was never seen again. The tale of Miss Koi Koi is one of those stories that's meant to keep children in check, but some believe it to be actually true. The Serbian Dancing Lady. Now imagine seeing this at midnight. The Serbian Dancing Lady is an internet phenomenon about a mysterious lady who comes out at night and dances in a very weird manner. In the 2020s, videos and memes of the Serbian Dancing Lady became popular. It's scary and dreadful, and they're usually tagged with "Don't go out at night." But not a lot of people know the much deeper and scarier story about this Serbian dancing lady. The following accounts came from a boy named Nico and his friend Solomon. According to Nico, in 1998, he was walking home with his mom one night when they saw a woman dressed in traditional Serbian garments, and the woman was dancing rather strangely. When she noticed there was a presence, she started chasing them, screaming all sorts of terrible things, saying she needed to sacrifice Nico's mother in a ritual to resurrect the king of Serbia. Though Nico and his mom managed to escape, Nico claims that the figure chasing them was not human. When Nico told his friend Solomon, he was positively spooked, and he decided to investigate. One night, he left the hotel he was staying in, carried his video camera, and decided to check out the area Nico had described. Solomon says it didn't take long before he found the woman dancing in the middle of the road, in the same odd fashion. He took a video of her until she finally noticed him and screamed, "Your mother's soul is mine," and chased Solomon with a knife. It wasn't until 2019 that Solomon's original video was posted online and the internet became aware of the Serbian dancing lady. Some say she is a cult fanatic, performing some sort of ritual and trying to harm anyone who disturbs her. Some say she has a demon in her. It's a tall tale, one that has fascinated the culture so much, with a bunch of people wondering who the Serbian lady is and why is she dancing that way. Slenderman. This is probably the most mainstream urban legend on this list. The legend of Slenderman, a ghostly figure with long arms and legs wearing a tight-fitted suit, has become well known in pop culture, and it has some very bitter stories attached to it. Slenderman was originally created in 2009 by Eric Knudsen under his alias Victor Surge on the Something Awful website. He created photos with children and people who had no idea that a tall and ominous figure was standing behind them, Slenderman. The photo was originally created for a challenge, which was to create paranormal images, and yet it became a sensational movement that blew up. Surge had added additional writing of people saying that their children had been kidnapped by someone called the Slenderman to the photo, adding ominous quotes like, "We didn't want to go, we didn't want to kill them." But its persistent silence and outstretched arms horrified and comforted us at the same time. It seemed like an innocent but creative post, yet Slenderman broke the internet. People couldn't stop talking about this persona. Horror fan art, theories, videos, and games were created on the Slenderman IP. Slenderman felt like a train that just couldn't slow down. Until 2014, when the Slenderman stabbings occurred. In May 2014, two 12-year-olds in Wisconsin held down their friend and classmate in the woods and stabbed her 19 times. Why? Because they had read about Slenderman online, and then they started seeing Slenderman in real life, and he told them that they would need to kill someone if they wanted to become Slenderman's servants. Yes, you heard that right. Thankfully, the victim survived, and the two girls were tried as adults and sentenced to do time in mental institutions. One of the young girls told the public that she still sees Slenderman, that he watches her, saying he has abilities like teleportation. But it doesn't stop there. All around the country, more and more heinous crimes started happening by people digging into Slenderman. A 13-year-old attempted to stab her mother after reading about Slenderman. And in Florida, a 14-year-old tried to set her family's house ablaze while her mother and brother were still inside. Police reported that the girl had been reading online stories about Slenderman. Even in 2015, there was an epidemic of young people trying to take their own lives, and Slenderman was said to be an influence. Before we go on, the Tentastic channel needs your help. We're trying to get to 5,000 subs before the end of the year, so we really need you to subscribe. It takes like 2 seconds for you, but it means a lot to us. Plus, you get to watch even more crazy and spooky videos like this one. So click subscribe. It's a win-win. Nale Ba. In the 1990s, in the rural sections of Karnataka, a state in southern India, the words Nale Ba in the Kannada language were written boldly on the doors and walls of so many houses. The phrase Nale Ba literally translates to come tomorrow in Kannada, and there is a reason why these residents were doing so. They say at night, someone and something goes through the streets of these local towns and starts knocking on the doors of people. It's a woman dressed in ceremonial Indian attire. When she knocks, she starts asking everyone inside to let her in. The odd thing is, she doesn't use her real voice. She uses the voice of a family member or a friend, someone the person on the other side is familiar with. The moment the unsuspecting individual opens the door and sees her, that person loses their life in 24 hours. It got so bad that the people in rural Karnataka started writing Nale Ba on their doors and walls, telling this ghost woman to come tomorrow to discourage her and make sure she doesn't knock on their doors. No one knows who this mysterious woman is or where she's from. Some say she was a bride who lost her groom, and now she's roaming the streets looking for him. But the point is, to this day, in some parts of Karnataka, you will see the words Nale Ba written on houses. An ever-present plea for this evil spirit not to knock on their doors. Le Leon. Whenever there is talk of cryptids and personalities of urban folklore, it's almost always hearsay. There's never definitive proof that shows that what people are saying is the truth. Until now. Le Leon is one of those urban legends where there is actual evidence that it exists. Switzerland has its own fair share of folklore, yet none is as peculiar and shrouded in mystery as Le Leon. For about a decade leading up to 2013, a single humanoid entity could be seen walking down a forest path in Switzerland, wearing nothing but a camouflage cloak and an old gas mask. They called him Le Leon. He wasn't doing anything in particular, but there was cause for concern when you see a guy wearing a gas mask and walking down a single path every day for 10 years without knowing who he is and what he's doing. Le Leon caused a lot of unease whenever he was spotted by people in the woods, and the description was always consistent. It wasn't until 2013 when a local photographer took a photo of LeLeon that we got definitive proof that this person existed, and the story was picked up by a local magazine. When the buzz over LeLeon got even more intense, the sightings of LeLeon suddenly stopped, and this was quite the surprise. Sometime later, some individuals were going through the woods one day, and they saw the entire outfit of LeLeon. They saw the cloak and the gas mask, and in addition, they found a note. And on the note, LeLeon says that the media has ruined his life, that he has received too much attention and he could no longer continue. And that was it. LeLeon was never seen again, and his disappearance left us with one question. What exactly was LeLeon up to? Teke Teke. This is probably the most tragic story on the list, and it comes from Japan. The story of Teke Teke starts with a young girl who was half Japanese and half American. She was extremely introverted, and a lot of people made fun of her for her demeanor and her origins. The bullying got so bad one day that her bullies placed a cicada on her shoulders while she was in a train station. When she noticed the insect, she got frantic and fell into the train track. Unknown to her, an incoming train was on the platform, and it sliced her body in half. The bullies, realizing what they had done, decided not to broadcast the story. The young girl died, but that wasn't the end of her story. 3 days later, that young girl was said to have been seen again. Only this time, she had her body from the belly up. She didn't have any legs, and she moved around by walking with her hands, with the rest of her exposed spine scraping the ground, making the distinct teke teke sound, which is where the name comes from. They say she hunted down her bullies and made them experience even worse injuries than she did. Some versions of Teke Teke have her holding a scythe, like some sort of angel of death hunting people around the train tracks. And if Teke Teke finds you, there's no way you can escape. Even though she's crawling on her hands, she's faster than a car and stronger than the average human. No one is safe when Teke Teke sets her eyes on them. Teke Teke has inspired all sorts of stories in the media and pop culture. Her story is one of loss and a stern warning against bullying and treating people horribly. Abchanchu. When the people of Bolivia want to emphasize stranger danger, they talk about one of the most dangerous creatures to ever exist, the Abchanchu, a vampire demon who some believe exists in the wilds of Bolivia. This monster is said to disguise itself as an old man who reveals itself to travelers. Its aim is to get help and sympathy from trusting strangers. It will pretend to be nice and ask for your help. Then it will lead you away from your path and try to isolate you. Once it has isolated you and it knows it has your trust, Abchanchu will reveal its true self, and by that time, it will be too late. The odd thing about the Abchanchu is that it operates very differently from most monsters. It doesn't rely on brute force and immediate violence. Its methods are a lot more calculated, subtle, and misleading. The Abchanchu attacks mainly in two ways. First, it might inflict a terrible sickness on its victims, one that will paralyze them and make them easy prey. Then, it slowly drinks their blood over a long period of time. The other way the Abchanchu attacks is by causing its victims to fall asleep, and then it drains the person's blood like a traditional vampire, except the Abchanchu doesn't just feed on blood, it also feeds on a person's life force. The legend of the Abchanchu is taken seriously in certain parts of Bolivia. It's a cautionary tale to all travelers when moving through Bolivia to be careful when encountering strangers, because you never know just what might be lurking under all that human skin. Screaming Woods. Between the villages of Pluckley and Smerden lies a small forest known as the Screaming Woods, or the During Woods, and it is said to be the most haunted woods in Britain. This is because of the numerous reports from the locals who say they heard screams of human beings coming from the woods. These screams are said to be extremely terrifying. Some claim to see shadowed figures following them when they walk along the path of the forest, and on a foggy day, they can even hear footsteps and whispers. The Screaming Woods is said to be haunted by the ghosts of all the horrible things that have happened there, with the most notable being the During Wood Massacre. According to the report, on the 1st of November 1948, 20 people were found dead, and the numbers included about 11 children. They say the bodies were stacked up in piles of human flesh, giving off a foul smell. But here's the real kicker. None of the bodies had any wounds or injuries. No trauma, no blood. They were just gone. Autopsies were not able to identify what caused so many people to kick the bucket in the During Woods. The most suspicious part of it was that the police quickly ended the investigation a week later and said the massacre had been caused by carbon monoxide poisoning, which is funny because people were literally under trees and it is particularly windy in During. When a private investigator decided to look into the matter in 1964, he died in a car crash about a year later. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. In 1998, around the same time that tragedy had happened in 1948, exactly 50 years later, 4 college students went missing in the forest. Witnesses say they saw strange lights that looked like spiderwebs inside the forest that night, and the police closed the investigation after 3 weeks. It's a chilling reality, the number of things that have happened in the screaming forest, and to this day, people still report hearing terrifying screams coming from the woods of During. The Green Children of Woolpit. Now, if you believe in other dimensions and the possibility of a different intelligent race existing that is much different from humans, then you will find this story fascinating. This is a tale from the 12th century about 2 children who were mysteriously found in the village of Woolpit in Suffolk, England. The children were a young brother and sister who were said to have green skin. Yes, you heard that right. They looked like humans, but their skin had a greenish hue. They didn't speak English. They spoke an odd language that no one had heard of, and they refused to eat any food that was given to them, even when they were apparently hungry. It wasn't until they found a bunch of green peas that they ate to fill their hunger, and soon they started eating regular human food. As time went on, the boy, who was the younger of the 2, didn't survive and passed on. The girl, however, adapted well to the human environment and even learned to speak English. And when she could finally speak, she told them of her origins, how she and her brother came from a place called St. Martin's Land, a place without sun, where their sky is lit up by a green atmosphere and everyone has green skin. She says she and her brother were watching over their father's livestock one day when they stumbled upon a cave with bright lights. When they went into the cave, they emerged in a different world with a yellow sun and different colored people. This story has baffled historians and skeptics through the ages, with some saying the alleged green skin of the children must have been some sort of metaphor. The only problem with that is the fact that Green Children's story was chronicled in the canon history books written by William of Newburgh and Ralph of Coggeshall, works that are believed to hold the truth about the history of England. No metaphor is necessary, which means the story about the Green Children of Woolpit is actually true. And if that's the case, then the existence of other dimensions and different species is even more plausible. Let me know what you think about these stories and what urban legends you've heard of on your side of the world. Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.